the pandemic, like many of us, I undertook a renovation in my home. It felt like my whole world had shrunk into 80 square meters, and I wanted to make my new world a little more comfortable. Around the same time, I learned that a friend of mine had recently become disabled due to a medical complication. These two seemingly unrelated incidents converged for me one day when I called her and wanted to hang out at one of our favorite spots. And she said she couldn't go there anymore because the place was inaccessible to her wheelchair. I felt guilty and a little ashamed that I hadn't quite noticed just how much her life had changed until it affected me. Privilege works like that. It is invisible to those who have it and painfully visible to those who don't. It hardly affects the day-to-day lives of those who live with it, but it has a profound effect on the daily experiences of those who lack it. It's interesting. I'm a professional working in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and yet there I was, standing on two legs that can run and walk without assistance, noticing another blind spot, another layer that needed to be unpeeled. Once it was pointed out to me, I finally understood. Everything changed for me as well. I was still in the middle of a home renovation, as you might remember, and I started to see a new opportunity, an opportunity for redesign. Since I was making changes to our bathroom, I became obsessed with the idea of these shower doors that would fold out and make room for a wheelchair. I had never seen such doors, but I was convinced they existed. I researched for hours and finally found these foldable doors. But they were going to take months to be delivered. In fact, I contemplated just giving up on the whole thing and going for the standard default shower doors that I knew so well. I wondered, why is accessibility so inaccessible? I started to look at my whole house differently. How could a wheelchair come through the door? How would a wheelchair sit comfortably between my massive couch and the other chairs? How could a wheelchair move effortlessly through my kitchen? It really had a profound effect on how I looked at all spaces. All the places I hadn't noticed wheelchair users struggling because they weren't there. Those spaces weren't welcoming to them. There is a phenomenon called the curb cut effect by Angela Glover Blackwell that many of my DEI colleagues will know well. For those who don't, it goes like this. In the US, curbs used to be created at all equal heights. That means you had to step on one to get on and step off to get off. It also meant that if you were using a wheelchair, you were basically out of luck if you wanted to use a sidewalk. The disability movement advocated for curbs to be cut and ramps to be added to make those curbs accessible to wheelchair users. And after much protest and much debate, they were actually cut throughout the United States. The disability movement advocated for curbs to be cut and ramps added to make them more accessible to wheelchair users. Naysayers said they were just too expensive and would only benefit a very small minority. And after much debate and much protest, they finally won, and ramps were cut out. And then something interesting happened. Everybody started to use these curb cuts. Lo and behold, the curb cut effect. Deliveries were now easier, and people would park close to the ramps for ease of loading. Parents with strollers used them. Kids, skateboarders, cyclists, even people with weaker knees. It turned out that everyone could benefit from this enhanced design. And herein lies the big secret of creating more inclusion in the world. To truly be inclusive, we have to design for the least privileged, for the most marginalized. And as we do that, we include even more people because all the benefits accrue to all of us. Let me give you another example. I am South African. And South Africa, as many of you know, has one of the most effective exclusion systems in the world. I say has, not had, because even 30 years after it has been dismantled, this system continues to deliver on its promise. When I visited South Africa recently, after 5 years of living in Europe, I started to look at my own country with a different lens as well. I visited game reserves and beaches and was struck by just how little had changed. Who was a patron? Who was serving? Many still remember the whites-only signs. They are gone now. That layer of lawful, awful exclusion has been peeled away. But we often do just that. We just take down the signs, then take a massive sigh of relief and say, it's over. We are now inclusive. But you see, it's not enough to just take down the whites-only sign. The very spaces that once excluded us by law still don't welcome us. They're still so inaccessible for so many, and for so many reasons. Some social, some economic, some physical, some psychological. The wall of exclusion is still there, albeit invisible to some. Our world has few exclusion signs left to see, but we still live in a world with perfectly designed exclusion systems that generate the same results over and over again. Let's take a look at organizations. Far from having any not allowed signs, organizations have been under pressure for years now to become more inclusive, even creating roles for DEI advisors like myself and my colleagues. And while it's great to have a DEI advisor on the payroll, it's not that much further from just taking down the sign. Leaders say they are struggling to attract diverse talent to their organizations, but fail to see the many ways that their organizations systematically exclude diverse talent and keep them out. You see, to understand the system, you have to look at the outcomes it produces. The more consistent the outcomes, the more perfect the design. My colleagues in D&I often hear the same feedback. Well, we tried to include everybody. We tried to welcome and encourage everybody, but only people from a certain educational background or gender applied. I mean, we might have even said it ourselves, how much we tried. But here is the thing. If your recruitment process keeps producing homogeneous results, and your leadership teams are fiefdoms of sameness, it is because the system is behaving exactly as designed. To change the outcomes, we're going to have to change the design. This systemic approach is often met with a lot of resistance for many valid reasons. You see, the existing systems have served us for a very long time. They help us to hire faster, to scale faster. They give us predictable results that keep us competitive in a highly competitive world. But this is exactly the next layer of inclusion that we are going to have to tackle. I speak to leaders who say we don't know why women are not attracted to our organizations, why people of color are not applying for the roles that we've posted. Because the barriers that keep them out are invisible to them. Generally, they're so deeply embedded in every people process, in every recruitment decision, in every conversation on progression. They're in our language, in our culture, in our corridors. Remember those shower doors? They didn't look problematic for people who are able to use standard shower doors. But unless you can see the barrier, you don't even know it's there. The people for whom these barriers are so visible, so visceral, so real, they need to be involved in how we review our processes. They will tell you how they are kept out from your systems and the ways in which you work. And they can help you make your organizations more inclusive. But don't stop there. Another outcome of exclusions is limiting self-beliefs that can be so crippling that they keep us from progressing. That even when the door is wide open, we don't know how to walk in. And if we walk in, we don't know how to be ourselves in there. I'm from the Eastern Cape. I've been told my whole life that I should be a water baby. And yet, I'm a terrible swimmer and terrified of the ocean. The limiting self-belief is so deep, and it keeps telling me black people don't go to the beach, black people don't like the outdoors. That's how powerful and long-lasting exclusions can be. And so while we have undoubtedly moved forward in every aspect of society in the space of diversity and inclusion, it's time for us to move to the next level: inclusion by design. It's the shower doors that will fold out and make room for my friend. Well, they will eventually, because they still haven't been delivered. And as the curb cut effect says, they will also give me access to more space, dry the shower quicker, expand the type of tenant and future owner of my home. And that's why I remain hopeful that even South Africa, my beloved home, will one day radically redesign a system that continues to exacerbate inequities today. That organizations that say we want more diverse talent, we want the benefits that will accrue to all of us if we bring them in, we want and embrace their unique perspectives, that they too will have the courage to change, to rethink, and to redesign companies that include them. Thank you.